Hi, my name is Rachel and I'm coming to you from the CSS News Museum in Kinston. I'm here with Dave. And today we're going to be talking with you about primary source analysis. We're going to be using the template from the National Archives. And so I'm going to be asking Dave a few questions about the artifact he has in his hand. So, Dave, first question. Let's meet the artifact. What's the material made of?
It's made out of iron, and we can tell a little bit more from the way this is rusted. Usually when iron rusts, it gets just little tiny pits, but this iron has rusted with long lines that almost looks like wood grain, which tells us that it's old-fashioned wrought iron and probably made before the 1870s.
Can you describe it as if you were explaining to someone who can't see it?
It's about 3 inches across, or just a little bit bigger than a drink can, and about the thickness of a pencil or a pen.
How much do you think it weighs?
Maybe 3 ounces.
Does it have any movable parts?
No, it's just one piece.
What's the texture like?
Kind of rough from the rust, but it would have probably been fairly smooth when it was new.
How old do you think it is?
Well, since it came off of a ship that sank in 1865, we know that it's probably just over 150 years old.
Well, where do you think it's from?
That's hard to say. It could have been imported from England. It could have been made somewhere here in the United States. It could have even been made in the short-lived nation of the Confederacy.
Who do you think used it? And why do you think that?
It was probably used by Confederate Navy sailors because it came from a Confederate Navy warship.
What was it used for?
That's a good question. Had it been found somewhere else, this could have been from a piece of horse tack or from a hitching post, but since this is from a ship, there's a very, very good chance that these were used for hammock rings.
What does this tell you about the people who made it and used it?
Well, it can tell us that they probably had hammocks on board the ship for the crew to sleep in.
What does it tell you about technology at the time it was made?
Well, actually, I can tell a little bit because I know a lot about metalworking. This was made by being forge welded together, which means that the tapering ends were overlapped and beaten together when it was hot, and it was probably made by hand instead of on an automatic machine like a modern ring you would buy in the hardware store would be made. A modern ring would be electrically welded in a little short spot, but this is overlapped and forge welded by being hammered together. So the technology is very old, same as if you found a ring from a Roman site.
What is a similar item from today?
They still make rings just like this for hammocks and for doing macrame and horse tack and just about anything. Hitching post rings, they still make rings very much like this, just the manufacturing is different.
What did you find out from this artifact that you might not learn anywhere else?
Well, what we found out from some of these artifacts on the ship was that they actually had hammocks on board the CSS News. We have a documentation that mentions wooden berths being built, but we had no documentation that they ever had hammocks until we found lots of these rings and big screw hooks that they would have been hung onto.
What other documents or historical evidence are you going to use to help you understand the event or time in which this artifact was used?
Well, we've got only spotty documents from the ship, but because we didn't have any mention of the hammocks on the ship in any of the documents, we can fill in the story about the ship that they did in fact have hammocks because of these rings. So we will use this in place of a document to learn more about the ship.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dave.
You're welcome.
And we hope you enjoyed this video.